like you said, you worked at HBO, and this was back in the mid '80s
right?
when
Mid to
cable
late.
TV was really kind of starting to blow up. And when I read it, I was kind of picturing it was almost like Silicon Valley, where how they had like their whole nexus and how everybody was kind of developing, laying the groundwork for the future. And like HBO was such a big part of the future of what cable TV would become. And all these other channels, like you mentioned, were popping up that were dedicated to like specific topics. And I guess what was it like being a part of, I guess, sort of like the golden age of cable TV? And like, did you realize that you were like in that moment at that time and like where things were headed?
Yeah, I gotta say I did. When I got to HBO, I had never seen anything like that place. I mean, there were probably about 1,000 people working there then, but they were walking around the halls, high-fiving, saying, "Man, we are the future of television." And you think I'm kidding? I mean, they were really excited about what they were doing, and there was just this vibe there constantly, this vibration that we were going to change. We were changing television every day, and the other thing is they were so phenomenally successful. I mean,
Hmm.
they went up in the satellite in 1976, say is when they started. By the mid 80s, they had like 30 million subscribers or whatever it was, 20 million subscribers. They were just like making money hand over fist, and they were owned by Time Inc., Time Warner. And I think the guys at Time Warner couldn't believe their good luck because they were just throwing money at these guys, and it was really crazy. But you mentioned the golden age of television, cable television, television generally. Um, the programming now is so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
with everything that's going on in Netflix and Amazon, I think from a I think from a programming point of view, we're so far ahead. Remember, HBO got to where it got by the mid 80s by showing mostly uncut movies. I
Sure.
think that was where they started.
Yeah.
And what they added to it, they would do some specials. And importantly, they were doing comedy specials. And I think that
Yeah.
was the second thing that really kind of kicked in and nailed their reputation and made them a must have in America because they were doing comedy specials and they were really the only ones who could do Robin Williams live and, uncut his
Hmm.
entire act. You couldn't see Robin Williams on television doing that anywhere else.
Yeah, no,
You had to go to a
I've never
club.
seen that. I
I
didn't
think
know he talked like that.
Eddie Murphy, Eddie Murphy, there's no way you could do.
All of those guys,
Yeah.
Whoopi, man, when I saw her, man, and Robert Klein, all those guys did specials. The big guys did specials, and it really it helped make HBO's reputation. And again, when I went and pitched Comedy Channel, I said, "How can you guys are comedy on
Yeah.
the dial right now. You're going to let somebody else come along and take it away from you?" That was one of the things I said. I think that scared them more than anything else. But
But
I'm glad they did. But that was working at HBO was electric. That's all I can say. It was electric, and a lot of people who worked at HBO went on to the
big things.
big things. So
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely a point for me. It was HBO being right there at the launch and kind of how it was building, because like you said, it did become kind of the nexus point for all comedians. If you made it an HBO special, you made it basically at that time, like especially in the '90s and when we were growing up, like that was the big moment. It was getting an HBO special. So they were known for comedy, and the fact that you pitched this, that you started this idea without them seeing the foresight, I think really just shows how an idea could come from anywhere. Because even though they had all these comedians and they had all this comedy background, they didn't see the bigger picture like you did.
I definitely did see the bigger picture. And let me tell you one of the things I saw in the bigger picture. Despite the fact that HBO was running these comedy specials, they were very highly produced. They were beautiful, There was another channel on the dial that was running a lot of comedy. It was A&E.
Mm-hmm.
And they were running a show called A&E at the Improv. And it was a half hour every night at 7:30, right? And that thing just hung there like a fog until everybody knew about it. And what it was is I think they put 2 cameras against a brick wall at the Improv in LA. And they had a steady stream of guys coming up doing 10 minutes, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of comedians would go through that thing doing 10 minutes. And so they had the other comedy franchise in cable, which was completely ridiculous when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
what were they doing in comedy?
Yeah.
And also, that was another thing. I said, now why would HBO let A&E be the other guys in comedy? There shouldn't be other guys in comedy unless it's HBO. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that was another thing I had my eye on. Actually, truth be told, when we started the comedy channel at HBO, I said, let's go buy all that A&E footage. I mean, you could buy that stuff by the pound in those days. And the guy actually sold it to us. He owned all the footage and he owned all the rights to it. Um, and that was very helpful to us because honestly, you could look at A&E at the Improv 30, 40 years ago and see almost every comic who made it after that 10, 15 years later. Everybody went through there. So it was very helpful having that stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's how we got started.